This episode of the Flush Podcast is brought to you by Onyx Hunt, the #1 GPS hunting map app. Onyx, know where you stand. Today I'm talking with one of the most interesting men in the upland bird hunting world. Tyler Sladen hunts with shotguns, cameras, and goshawks. He's a professional photographer, nuisance wildlife control operator, falconer, gun dog lover, bird hunter, and he's a United States Army veteran. You're about to hear Tyler's story. Welcome to another episode of the Flush Podcast. I'm Travis Frank. I'm your host. Brandon Morton is our producer. Spring has sprung in the North Country and the warm sun feels great. I can only assume that wild birds on the prairie are enjoying this warm as much as the rest of us. It certainly bodes well for the bird populations going into nesting season and, of course, next hunting season. Today, our guest comes to us all the way across the country from New Mexico. Tyler Sladen, I appreciate you taking time today to join our show. Where exactly do you call home, and how warm is it down there today?
I'm down in Albuquerque, so like north central New Mexico. It's actually kind of chilly for here today. It's in the 40s, which with overcast, which normally it's sunny and hot here year round. So abnormally, Gotcha. This is what we would call chilly.
Gotcha. Did that polar vortex in February reach you down there? And how cold did it get?
It did. It got -19. That was the coldest I've ever seen it in the few years I've lived down here. And we got like 4 or 5 days of snow, and that's another thing that's abnormal here. Like we'll get snow 2-3 times a year, but or at least down at the elevation I live at. The mountains get snow all the time, but yeah, we got like 5 days of snow where I live at my house, which was crazy.
So have you seen any effects on the quail down there from the cold, or is it too early to tell?
No, it didn't seem to. So normally when it snows here, a lot of the cubbies that are spread out, they'll join up and they'll make these like super cubbies, and they tend to get through it pretty all right.
You're not concerned about it?
No, I'm not. If anything, it'll help them. Winter moisture is great for scaled quail and Gambel's quail, so all that snow melt off. I mean, it melted within days, so it didn't stick around long.
Gotcha. Well, we'll get into quail numbers and a lot of quail talk shortly, but your email signature reads like this. It says, Tyler Sladen, professional photographer, nuisance wildlife control operator, United States Army veteran, abatement falconer. I feel like I don't know where to start with this conversation. How about you? Where do we want to pick this up?
Yeah, that's a mouthful. I've been a photographer for probably the longest. Like that's taken me through everything I've done. Since I was a kid, I mean, skateboarding and BMX photography was originally where I started with cameras, and from there it evolved into hunting photos and wildlife photos, and that's how I found falconry. It was originally when I first got into it, I just wanted to go take pictures of it. I was like, man, this stuff sounds cool. Yeah. And then through watching it, and I was like, you know what, I'd rather be the one doing it, to be honest. So that's what we ended up doing.
So take me back then, if you don't mind. You're not originally from New Mexico. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Massachusetts, and then the last 2 years of high school, I lived in New Jersey. And then I joined the Army, moved to Texas, got into falconry, moved to Missouri, and then got really into falconry when I was in Missouri, and then came to New Mexico because of it.
Gotcha. So did you hunt growing up?
Yeah, I hunted a lot of deer and turkey. The Northeast upland birds is like not as big, or at least it wasn't growing up. It seems to be pretty big now, but the only
did you have grouse available in your region when you grew up?
We used to see them deer hunting, but like I guess I just didn't appreciate them at the time. Not enough to where I was like, I'm going to go get a dog just to hunt these, because the way my grandfather hunted them was on ATV trails with a 22, and that's how we did it.
Right. Yeah. That still happens today. I mean, there's kind of like two grouse hunting styles, right? There's people that just either take ATVs down a trail or they'll walk trails. And then there's the guys that take their dogs into the thickest stuff. And, that seems to happen in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and from other people I talked to in the Northeast, the same thing, as well as Canada too. There's a lot of trail hunters as well. But anyway, we'll move on. So, do you mind? What did you do in the Army? Do you mind talking about that?
I was an Abrams tank gunner. I was the guy in charge of the main gun on the M1A2 battle tanks. So,
where did you go?
We went to Europe, all over Europe. Been all over the United States doing that too. When I was in, tanks weren't as needed as they were in the beginning of like Iraq and stuff. So we didn't do any of that. Yeah, we never did any of that, but we still got to mess around on tanks, and it was a good time.
I feel like operating a tank would be kind of badass as long as you're not in combat, right?
It is. It's a high that like obviously you'll never achieve again. I mean, shooting a 120 millimeter cannon going 40 miles an hour is something that you just can't find on the civilian side of things, unfortunately.
Right. How long did you serve?
4 years.
Gotcha. Okay. And how long have you been out?
I've been out. What year is it? I've been out for 6 years now.
6 years. What was it like when you came out? Did you have any troubles finding a job? Did you know what you wanted to do?
That part was pretty easy for me. I had a job lined up when I got out, had a place to move, did it. I mean, I got out and I moved and started work the next day. The part that was hard to adjust is in the military, you're around a group of guys every day, and whether you like it or not, they're your friends, they're your buddies, they know everything about you. Mm-hmm. And you see those people every day for years. And then when you get out, you have to like go back to like forcing those interactions. You have to establish a friend group again. And obviously I didn't move back to my hometown when I got out. So that part was pretty weird.
Why didn't you go back home?
The East Coast just doesn't have anything for me anymore. I know if my family listens to this, they'll be heartbroken, but the older I get, the more west I want to go. So sorry to the East Coast. There's not my thing anymore.
It's something to be said about the open spaces that you have down there, and just the sheer amount of land, public land available. But the mountains and less people. I mean, there's something attractive about that kind of, access to land and just the open spaces. So I totally get that. What did you do then once you left the Army?
I got a job as a nuisance wildlife control guy. So I started out as a technician at a St. Louis office. So anytime there was like pigeons in parking garages or raccoons in attics, it was our job to go take care of that. So I did that for a few years as a technician, and then the job offer popped up for New Mexico to be the guy running the office. So now I run an office down here in New Mexico, and I've got technicians that will work under me.
So
we do the same thing.
Are you in the field then at all, or did you lose your ability to go out and wrangle the animals yourself?
Oh no, I'm still just as involved. It's just when we do big jobs, it's just I've got to spearhead them and sell them and manage people and do that side of things.
What does a big job look like for a nuisance wildlife control operator?
Mostly like big hospitals, big warehouses, like netting, like bird netting, the entire like all the rafters, all the I-beams that run through so I mean, some of those jobs are $200,000 jobs. They're big jobs, and we're not, as far as employee power goes, we're not that big of a company, so that can take a group of 3 guys like a month to do. So
really,
that's a pretty big job for us.
So what are you trying to accomplish? I mean, what birds are you trying to get out of the building or the area, and where do you take them?
Uh, well, the main goal is to make it so they just can't even get in the building at all. So like pigeons, sparrows, starlings, grackles, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if I trap pigeons, they become bird train or dog training pigeons. But the other stuff, we try not to trap as much, and we try to really set things up so that they can't get into the building to begin with.
Gotcha. I have to imagine down there you get calls about snakes, right?
Oh, tons. Usually July through August is all snake calls.
Really? So what does that look like when you get a call? I mean, what are your expectations when you pick up the phone and somebody says, I've got a snake? Like, where have you seen snakes in people's houses?
So rattlesnakes don't really get into crazy spots. Sorry, my toucans in the background are being ridiculous. Generally, someone calls me frantic because one's like coiled up on their porch, and I just got to go there and grab it and put it in a bucket and let it go somewhere else. When I was in Missouri, we got a lot of rat snake calls, and they would get like crazy places like dryers and kitchens and stuff like that. But we don't have those kind of snakes down here, really. So we don't really get those calls.
What do you have any calls that stand out to you as the most bizarre or scary or extreme situation?
We've had bobcats get stuck in porches. Those can be kind of scary because they'll fillet you open. Every now and then we'll get a bear and a chicken coop call. We can't do anything about that. We've got to deflect those to Game and Fish, so we don't really get to do anything with those. There has been times where I'm in a crawl space, like looking for ways that rodents and stuff are getting in houses, and found way more rattlesnakes that I really want to see on my stomach crawling around. Those are honestly the scariest, just because imagine being on your stomach and finding like 34 prairie rattlesnakes looking at you. It's not really a position I really want to replicate.
I don't think anybody wants that. My skin is crawling just thinking about it. Did you always, I mean, so you clearly love the outdoors and you clearly have an affection for wild critters, right? I mean, was this something you thought would be a cool job, or it's something that you wanted to do?
It was something I thought would be cool, and it was something I wanted to do, and I do enjoy it. I mean, when you compare it to the list of jobs that are out there, it's different every day.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I'm sure it kind of feeds into your love for hunting and dogs and outdoor photography. So what came first? Was it photography or hunting for you?
I hunted before I was a photographer. I didn't actually entwine my photography into hunting until honestly later in life, probably in my 20s. I wish I had, because like looking back, I had access to a lot of cool things growing up. But back then, like when we were hunting, and when I was taking pictures, it was just a separate thing. And now, like, I don't know. Now I'm just more comfortable, like going out on a turkey hunt, but only carrying a camera. Like that's just something I'm okay with now. I don't know if it's because I've hunted so much, but back then it was pretty hard. Like if I had time to go hunting, like that's what we were going to do,
Gotcha. So, where do you typically like to go hunt in New Mexico? And what do you if you could pick any of the bird species, what are you after the most?
I hunt scaled quail the most just because they're closest to home, but through doing that, they've turned into my favorite by far. If we could travel more, I'd like to hunt. Like I prefer hunting chukar once I'm on the road, just because it's just not something I have at the house. But like weekend trips, I live close enough that I can hunt Mearns quail within 2 hours and bobwhites within 2 hours. So we get to hunt those a good bit.
Gotcha. And for somebody who, maybe a Midwest guy that doesn't have the chance to hunt any of those birds, what's the difference in each one of those species?
So scaled quail, they're more grassland birds. They run big coveys, super explosive fun. Mearns quail, I mean, they're more towards the mountains. New Mexico, they're more of a mountain bird, but it's still like rolling canyons, grasslands with like gamble oaks and stuff like that. So but they're a tighter holding bird. The dog works typically better when you do find them. And then bobwhite, everyone knows bobwhite. Those are great for young dogs. It can be really hard to get young dogs going on scaled quail out here. It takes a while, and it just takes a lot of letting a dog mess it up.
How many dogs do you have?
Right now I've got 8.
8 dogs.
So I've got I've got a couple English setters, a Vizsla, a Cocker, and a Yag Terrier. And
why the variety?
An Irish setter as well. Well, I subscribe to the belief of you don't really know what you like till you've tried it for the most part. So I've had a huge variety of dogs, and through having a mixed string, I've learned that I like having a little bit of everything, honestly. My setters do big run-in stuff really well, and that's their job, but there's some times where they're just not the ideal dog. Like when I'm hunting pheasant in ditches, I don't really want my English setter at 600 yards. It's not ideal. So my Vizsla and my Cocker are perfect for that. And sometimes I hunt rabbits in town with my birds. So like my little Yag Terrier is all I need.
You said you hunt with your birds. So I mentioned right off the top of the show that falconry is, something that you're very passionate about. How did you get into falconry, and who introduced you to it?
So when I was stationed in Texas, there was a falconry meet a couple hours from the base I was stationed on. Some friends invited me to go watch birds there, and then when I got there, there was hundreds of falconers there. Falconry is a lot bigger than some people realize. And I definitely realized it at that moment. This was just a Texas falconry meet. There was 200 plus people there.
Wow.
So I went out and we watched a couple falconers chase squirrels with Harris hawks and dogs. Well, Harris hawks will hunt together. So it was a couple Harris hawks and a couple dogs. And at one point, the dogs and the hawk became like automatonic on it. And they went off and did their own, like, they didn't do their own thing, but the dogs and the hawk were doing everything, and a group of humans was just like left to spectate. And I was like, man, that is so cool. And through meeting those guys, I eventually got into it myself. But after seeing it that day, I was like, I want that. And obviously it takes a while to train a couple birds and a couple dogs to get to that point. And my falconry is finally at that point. That day was like 9 years ago. So now, it took me a while to come around and get to that point, but now I've got a bird that'll hunt quail with my dog. My main dog he's a 5-year-old Vizsla, and I've got a 2-year-old bird, and they'll chase quail, and sometimes I don't catch up right in time, and they'll reflush it on their own and chase it again, and it's like it gets to the point where they don't need me. So like
they're hunting without you?
Yeah, they'll hunt. They are, but they aren't. Like I'm close enough to watch, but yeah, they don't need my help at that point. And it's when they do it that way, man, it's pretty cool.
So you watch this big group of falconers go out into the field. How long after that day? How long did it take for you to have your own falcon or to get your own falcon?
About a year later. I had to get out of the Army and get all that stuff wrapped up.
Got it.
And then there's a lot of studying involved, so I just took that time to study, and any chance I got, I went out and watched. I'd go up to Dallas and watch falconers, and that's a 3-hour drive from Fort Hood where I was at. So
I went on a falcon hunt with a goshawk, and we went rabbit hunting up here in Minnesota, probably like 6 or 7 years ago with a couple guys. They had their own birds, and I learned a little bit about it, but there's different levels for this organization before they could hunt on their own. The one guy was an apprentice, I believe he was called, and the other was a master. Maybe master isn't the right name, but I think you might know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's all part of the training. What does that look like?
So it's just your permitting levels. So when you start out, you find a sponsor. So like someone that's a master. I don't really like the title, but like my permit says Master Falconer. So I would be able to sponsor you, and then under my supervision, you would trap your first bird, And then I would watch you fly that bird for 2 years. And as long as you're catching game and keeping your bird in good health, I would sign off at the end of 2 years, and you would become what's called a general. Well, then you're a general for 3 years. And when you're a general, you don't have to worry about what your sponsor thinks or says anymore. It's kind of your time to fail on your own or do good on your own, whatever you choose. And then after 3 years, you would just get upgraded to master.
Huh. So you actually go out in the field and trap a wild falcon or hawk, right?
Yep.
Where did you go to get yours?
The bird I have now?
Yeah.
My bird, so when you trap a bird, it's called a passage bird. Those are birds you would trap from the wild. Mm-hmm. My bird is what you would call an eyas. I pulled my bird from the nest and raised it by hand. That is something you learn to do later in falconry. It can be a little bit harder, and there's a lot more room for error. But the loyalty you get from that bird is leaps and bounds higher. So I found a goshawk nest in the mountains, and I climbed that tree, and I took a bird out of that nest. And you're allowed to take one. You got to leave at least 2 in the nest so that you're not depleting the nest. I took one and I raised it, and I still got them 2 years later.
Unreal. I know that this is a legal thing to do, but to somebody who has no idea that might be listening, it seems to me, like you're taking a federally protected bird out of the nest. Like I couldn't go do that right now, right? I mean, what's the process to get to that point?
So obviously, to pull a bird from a nest, you're already at least a general class falconer, and then something like a goshawk is highly, highly federally regulated. Like red tails, any permit level can trap those. But like a goshawk, you got to be a general or a master, and generally you have to draw a tag. So like just like you would draw a tag for an elk hunt, here in New Mexico, there's 6 tags for goshawks every year, and that's for the entire that's for residents and non-residents. So I finally drew a tag one year, and I went and found nests on my own, and with some help from some other falconers in the area. And once I knew they had hatched, I waited about 10 days, and you generally want to pull them at about 10 days old. And I went and climbed the tree and pulled them. I mean, there's a myriad of paperwork involved. Like it's not like some over the counter thing that you just go do, but it is all legal and went with the right paperwork.
So in this case, I mean, I feel like that bird wasn't able to, that bird that you grabbed out of the nest was not able to learn from its parents how to hunt, and so if you decide, this isn't for me, I mean, you really can't let that bird go, right? I mean, that's a lifelong commitment between the two of you. Is that correct? Or how does it work? I mean, I have to imagine there's been somebody who's...
you at a certain point you can. So like once they're you can't just abort mission halfway through, raising them. Once they're flying around and stuff, you can do what's called a hack. And a hack is where you go find a spot and you put food in a spot every day, and they come and they get food every day. So they're allowed to fly around freely. And eventually they just stop coming back for food once they learn that they don't need you for food. So it's not like a 30-second thing where you just go cut their equipment off and throw them back in the wild. No, with a hand-raised bird, you would have to really commit 3 to 8 weeks of putting food in the same spot every day for them until they eventually kind of just go do their own thing. Ideally, this bird, I don't want to let him go. I've put in so much work, and he's so tolerant of other people and their dogs. He's a great, what would you call it? He's a good example of what he can be, and he's a great bird to show people that haven't seen falconry what else you can do. And with him, if I've got a friend that's got a decently trained dog, I like to let him catch quail over their dogs so that they feel a part of it, and maybe they'll get into it, maybe they won't, but A lot of falconers, when they get into falconry, they're not a hunter. That's their first introduction to hunting, and that's probably where they struggle the most, is the hunting portions of it. So I've kind of made it my mission to show falconry to more gun hunters, at least the upland side of gun hunting, to see if we can get more people that already know how to hunt involved. And a bird like him is perfect for that, because if they see that you can hunt over their dog that they've never used in falconry before, a lot of times they're like, oh, well, I've already got half the battle down, To me, training a dog is just as hard. So
I was going to ask, I mean, what's easier to train? Is it a dog or the bird, the falcon?
Some birds can be harder, but as a general rule of thumb, like a bird you trap from the wild already knows how to hunt and do all this stuff. You're just convincing them to do it all with you. I think a dog is harder. I'm going to upset some people by saying that, but I wholeheartedly think a well-trained dog is much harder, with emphasis on the part of well-trained.
Yeah. Yep. So what I learned, I mean, my one hunt experience with a goshawk was everything is revolved around the food, right? So like when you go home with your dog, the reward, if it's a retrieving dog, is to bring that bird back to you. With the hawk, what's the reward? Is it when they take a quail down, do you let them take a few chunks of meat, or do you take that bird from them and give them meat as a reward?
So with goshawks, plucking is the reward. Yes, they're very food motivated, but they are very motivated by killing as well. Okay. They're definitely murderous little birds. So like in a lot of my pictures, you'll see a pile of feathers, and he's not even digging into the meat yet. He's just plucking feathers off, and it's just mentally soothing for them. So a lot of times I don't even give him a piece of what he catches. I already have meat ready for him, ready to go, but I'll let him pluck feathers, and just because in his head, it's like the ultimate zen for him. He caught a quail. Now he's going to make a pile of feathers with it. And I'll give him a little piece of meat, and he'll give me the rest of that quail. The other thing that's very soothing to them is warm blood. So like every now and then, like if I catch a rabbit, I'll open up the chest cavity after it's been dispatched and let them drink on some warm blood. They do drink a little bit of blood. You have to remember that birds of prey get most of their hydration in the winter from what they kill. So like when everything's frozen, there's not water open for them to drink from. So they have to get water from the moisture of the meat that they eat. So they do enjoy that.
It's fascinating. I've got several more questions about it, including, how a hunt goes down when you're out there. But first, I want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by Onyx Hunt. The Onyx Hunt app is one of the most helpful tools available for hunters today. Onyx maps give me peace of mind while in the field because they show my exact location on planet Earth. The app clearly displays property boundaries for both public and private lands, and it identifies who owns the land. Onyx maps give you an aerial view of the land so you can zoom in on a property and come up with your own game plan before you ever step foot in the field. Techs at Onyx continue to add features to this app to help hunters like you and I while we're out in the field. Features like wind and weather forecasts for specific properties you plan to hunt. They also offer a feature that lets you download maps and use them offline if you plan to hunt areas without cell phone coverage. You can track your routes in the field and drop GPS pins on the property. Plus, you can add notes to each route and pin that you drop that will help you remember everything about your hunt. You can also share that information with other Onyx app users. Onyx maps are becoming living journals that hunters can use for years to come. Members can sign up for individual states, or you can purchase an elite membership. Elite members get access to Onyx maps in all 50 states, plus additional benefits with all of their partner companies, saving you more money on gear you love to use the most in the field. If you haven't tried the Onyx Hunt app, we highly recommend that you download it before your next outdoor adventure. They give you a free trial, so you'll be able to test it out while on the road. Head to the App Store on your mobile device and search Onyx Hunt. Onyx Maps help you know where you stand. Tyler, do you use Onyx Maps when you're out in the field?
I do a ton, actually. I bought it myself a couple years ago, and once I realized how, even if you don't even have the maps downloaded, that you could drop pins, it became very fluid for me. I used to use the Onyx chip in my Garmin handheld, and I don't anymore. I just use my phone now. That's my way to find stuff now.
I use them both, and with my dog, she's a puppy, and this season she was 6 months old at the start of our hunting season, and she wants to run, man. She just loves to run big, and I'm constantly trying to bring her in, but in the Midwest, a lot of the land is completely different than what you have out west, being that you've got, some hundreds of thousands of acres of properties, where here it might be like 100 acres or, a 160, or maybe if we're lucky, it's a full 640 section. But I wanted to make sure that she didn't cross the boundary just as much as I wasn't crossing the boundary. So it's nice to have the option to put it in the handheld on the Garmin too. But anyway, back to the hunt. So when you go out, I mean, you've got three options, all right? You're going to bring a bird, you're going to bring your camera, you're going to bring your shotgun. What do you take with you when you go hunting?
What, like in my game bag?
I mean, what do you bring into the field? Do you bring your shotgun very often anymore, or do you mainly hunt with your bird and your camera?
It's probably about a 25-75% split with bird and gun. If I bring my camera, it's because I'm hunting with other people.
Yep.
And if I'm running young dogs and I'm hunting with other people that I know can shoot and that'll make those connections for my young dogs, I'll carry a camera. I've got some buddies that just can't shoot that well, so those are the times
we all do. We all do. So you said 25% of the time you bring your shotgun, or 25% of the time you bring your bird?
25% of the time I bring my shotgun. Like usually, my bird, birds get on a schedule. So if he's going to hunt in the evening. So last light. So anywhere from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock is kind of his window to hunt. So if I go out in the morning to hunt, I'll bring a gun, or if I'm scouting, and a lot of times if I'm gun hunting, I'm really just scouting for spots to fly my bird, if we're being honest. I do enjoy gun hunting, and I do gun hunt with friends a ton. It's just these days I really enjoy flying my bird over my dogs, but all my dogs do both, so I'm okay with doing either.
Gotcha. So when you go out into the field, do you have your bird on your hand? I'm assuming you're wearing a leather glove. The bird is on your hand. You walk out there. Do you wait for the dog to go on point and then send the bird up in the air, or do you let the bird soar over and follow you guys through the field?
So he rides my glove the whole time, but in his second season, he's really learned that when dogs go on point, quail are about to come up. He knows that. So if you could believe it, he gets as excited as you or I would, and he'll start making these like little peeps, and it's just him being excited. And what he'll do is he'll fly over to the dogs and kind of hover above their heads about 30, 40 feet in the air. Mm-hmm. And then either I'll walk in and flush, or my Vizsla is trained to flush on command. I'll tell him to flush, and quail will go everywhere, and he'll pick one out and he'll chase it down. I used to hold him back until I flushed, and I learned this year that it's just way more effective, because I can name a lot of times this season where he saw the quail before me, or the dogs had even pointed him, because scaled quail are notorious for running, same with Gamble's quail. So there was a lot of times where he would see them running on the next ridge over, and they can see a lot better than you realize. So what he'll do is he'll fly over there, and obviously they're not going to flush for him alone. So he'll fly over there, and they'll stop running, and they'll all lay down, and they panic, they pin, and he'll land on something like a bush or a yucca or something like that. And then I'll get over there, the dog will point one, and then we'll flush. And so sometimes he's finding birds before my dogs are. So it can be actually a really cool tool to get some of my younger dogs that are cool with him on a lot more bird contact some days, because whereas that would have been a scaled quail covey that ran off and we never found it, he pinned them, they stopped running, and then I was able to get some dog work on them too. So it can.
So I assume that this bird is taking them out of the air, right? Your falcon is taking the bird in the air. So what kind of speed does your bird hit in the air to catch up with the quail?
On average, he's about 55 to 62 miles an hour. if he's got wind to work with, he's hit 72 to 83. He is a lot faster than, but I mean, we're talking end of season. He's in like peak conditions. So just like dogs, birds get in shape and they can do things you didn't think they could do towards the end of the year. Quail fly about 40 miles an hour. So, but quail get up to 40 miles an hour a lot faster.
Uh-huh.
So
I was going to say, so by the time, you let this bird go off of your glove, gets up in the air and then picks up the speed, how far away will they fly before they actually catch up to him on a normal flush?
On a normal flush, 200 to 300 yards.
Oh, that's not bad. I would have thought it would have been further than that.
There are some that go a half mile, though. I won't act like that doesn't happen. It just depends on the species of quail, the terrain you're in, and where you find them that day. Like some days they're like scalies love open grass, but they like to be in an area that they can fly back to thick cover. So if you find them 100 yards from thick cover, they're only going to fly 100 yards. But some days they're a half mile from thick cover, and they've got a boogie to get there.
When a covey flushes, on average, how often does your bird catch one?
On a covey rise,
Uh-huh.
not very often. That is just like it is for someone shooting. It's very chaotic for him too. He's got to pick one out. He's gotten a lot better about it this season, but man, his first year, sometimes like on like valley quail covey rises where it's like 100 birds, he would like get overwhelmed and wouldn't even really know what to do. And that's why they flush like that. I mean, that is their evolutionary tactic to flushing like that.
Right. Well, I mean, it's a completely natural event that's happening out there. You just put yourself in the middle of it. How do you bring the bird
totally.
back if you don't catch one?
Generally, I just go pick him up. So generally, he's going to fly to where the quail put in, and then he's usually down low. If he's up high and I know where the quail are, I'll flush the quail and let him chase it again. But if he like lands on a telephone pole or a house or something he's not supposed to, I can call him down to a lure.
What does that call sound like?
Oh, it's not a verbal call. I would just swing it's a leather lure on a small piece of rope with meat attached, and he knows when I swing that he's going to get some food.
He's going to get some food. Oh man, it's such a cool thing to see. How does somebody that's never seen it before, how would they get a view of it or go to, like you went to that event down in Dallas where you got exposed to it. Does that happen all across the country?
Yeah, when we're not in COVID, it's very common. So every state's got a falconry club, and all falconry clubs host meets every year, and they're open to people coming and watching. So you guys are in Minnesota. There's a Minnesota falconry club that's quite big. Wisconsin's got a pretty big active club, and they host meets. So just get on their club Facebook and get in touch with someone and just say you want to come watch, and they should be accommodating. And if they're not, let me know, and I'll try to link you up with someone that's accommodating in your state. I mean, just like gun hunting, there's falconers that just aren't the most welcoming people to new hunters. So, if you meet a falconer who's rude off the bat, don't let that speak for all of us.
Right. Well, you're very open to letting people come tag along. That's one thing I've noticed about you. Why do you open up the invitation so often?
Because there's so many people that won't. I try to do it for people that are already hunting, Mm-hmm. I want more gun hunters to see our side of things, So, I try to take as many people as I can. And, what I've found is a lot of gun hunters are really cool about it, and they're excited to see it. I mean, anyone that appreciates hunting should appreciate a predator, So,
right.
I've made a lot of cool friends just by being open about it. I met this dude in Kansas last year, and his name's Jake. He wanted to see birds catch prairie chickens. Well, my bird's not fast enough for a prairie chicken, but we ended up hunting with him anyways, and he's actually becoming a falconer now. So, that's a win in my book. I'd love to see more gun hunters be falconers.
Well, it seems like it's a pretty big commitment. So what is your season? How long does your season last? I know up here in Minnesota, you can hunt pheasants with a falcon quite a bit longer than you can with a shotgun. Is that the same down?
Yeah, it's this. Well, so for you guys, a lot of your seasons go to like March 31st for falconry, just because they understand that obviously there's days that are just too cold to do any kind of hunting, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Down here, we don't really get that kind of weather. So it's September 1st to March 1st. So that's 180 days. I generally try to get out there at least 140.
Wow. That's a lot of time in the field. My goodness. So, how of those 140 days are you hunting birds? Not exclusively. I mean, you go for rabbits and squirrels, other critters too, right?
This bird I have now, I kind of joke and say we catch rabbits unintentionally. I do enjoy his flights on rabbits; they are fun. But even if I'm hunting a spot I've never hunted before, whatever we see is what we're going to catch. Like if we see rabbits, we're going to catch rabbits. If we see quail, we're going to catch quail. Obviously, my intention is to catch quail anytime I'm out there. So I'm generally pretty focused. Some days I'll go hunt Murrens. Some days I'll go hunt Gambles. But most of the time we're hunting Scalies.
So, kind of circling back a little bit, I know we talked about photography a little bit. How do you incorporate photography into your day-to-day life? I mean, you just said you're in the field over 100 days in a season. You're taking photos. Where do those photos end up?
It's really just Facebook and my website, a little bit of Instagram.
Okay.
I don't really do much with them. I really don't hustle that side of things. I know I should and I know I could, but
Yep.
I truly enjoy photography. And then when publications pick my photos up, I'm stoked, but it's not my primary income source, and I should be better about it. I should try to at least pay for my camera equipment, which, as you know, camera equipment is not cheap.
It is not cheap. It's more of I learned many years ago when I got into photography that I just loved it. It gave me a creative outlet that I enjoyed. I loved going out there into the field and figuring out, what I would come home with, not knowing what I would see and be able to capture. But I feel like, maybe you are still enjoying it because you haven't made it a career, right? I mean, you haven't made it all about money, because then it seems to change the dynamic. At least for me, it did.
Does.
When you're relying on income for something that you love to do, tends to change, the joy behind doing that. So you might have the best thing going right now where you don't need to make that a career as well.
Yeah, early on. So I went to school for photography, and I was big into photography as a kid. I got a job working for the NHL when I was 18, and I didn't like it, man. You think that's like the end all be all, like, and it made me not really enjoy hockey anymore, and it made me not really enjoy photography. And I'm grateful that I was given the job opportunity by a friend of mine, Demi. But I just didn't like it. It was real high stress, and it made me lose that creative spark that I had for photography. And then the parts that I really enjoy about photography now is I love field candid photography. Like nothing crazy, nothing planned, but like a photo of like friends interacting on a hunt and stuff like that, or with their dog, and say 7 years down the road that dog passes away, and you print and frame a photo of that and mail it to them. Like you've got the ultimate gift, And I mean, that gift means more than anything they can get in that moment. They might not even know you have that photo. And I'm really bad about it. I'll sit on photos for 10 years before even going back and looking at them. And I'll edit through them and send them to people just as just random gifts. And that's always kind of been one of my things to do. And I love that part of photography.
Right. I feel like this social media, digital age, people want to document their adventures, right? I mean, we see it all over the place. People are sharing what they're doing out there in the field. If you had to give a little bit of advice to somebody that wants to up their game, because if somebody looks at your photos, they're going to say like, that's National Geographic quality type photos. And if they wanted to do something similar to that without breaking the bank on some equipment, how would you direct them?
I'm not endorsed by any camera brand. Let me say that before I say this. Sony's got some really small cameras like A6000s, A6100s, and then there's like really cheap lenses out there like Rokino 35 millimeters. And we're talking that combo right there is the size of 2 packs of cigarettes. You put that in a hard case and throw it in your game bag, and the next time your dog goes on point, get down low, take a picture of that dog head on, and don't shoot a shot on that bird. Get a picture of your dog head on point. Like, stop taking pictures of their butthole. Like, no one wants to see that. And then stand back up and take a picture of your phone and then compare. And it's night and day. Like, one will look like a magazine cover and one looks like some bland photo that you scroll through and see a million times on bird dog groups. It's so easy just to do 100 times better real quick. And through there you can learn how to edit photos, but just a head-on shot with a really sharp camera is going to be night and day from anything any phone can do. When I was getting into photography, there was a photographer named Chase Jarvis, and he wrote a book called The Best Camera is the One You Have With You. And even if you got your phone, just put a little bit more effort into your angles and where you shoot from, and even that can improve what you're doing. I have published magazine photos that were iPhone photos. I'll never tell most people which ones they are, and it's funny for them to think it was shot with a big DSLR, but I've got 14-inch prints on my wall that I shot with my iPhone. It's just because the best camera really is the one you have with you. So
Right. I would agree with that too. I've got some incredible, I mean, the latest iPhone that I have, I'm constantly grabbing shots in the field, but I tell people too, I'm like, get lower, let yourself have something in the foreground, your subject where you want it in the photo, and then something in the background. You want to look at all three of those things too. And so often you see people, they're standing up and they're pointing down, at something, you don't have that backdrop. You don't have that view. So being eye level with your subject is so important in a photo.
Totally. And these new iPhones, they've got wide angles on them. They've got telephotos on them.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the sunlight too. I mean, you don't necessarily want to have somebody looking directly into the sun, burning their face, have it off to the side, just turn a little bit and try a couple different options on the same shot, and then go back and look at your photo. And then even like on an iPhone, I mean, you have editing features there, but I use Lightroom. I use, different Adobe products for editing. Which one do you use?
I use Lightroom on my phone. It's a great tool. Just read a few articles on rule of thirds. I mean, if you could just learn composition and angles, you're already ahead of probably half the people that own a DSLR anyways, and you can blow them out of the water with a phone. Most people dive into photography and they forget the basics. Editing, angles, rule of thirds, lighting, those are all your important parts. What gear you have that comes later. Yeah.
I know a lot of great photographers, and early on, when I started getting into it a little bit more, a photographer that I really respect, he mentioned something that I still try to do today, in that he said, there's a lot of filters out there. You can download all these filters and make your photo look old or bright or whatever you want. And he goes, but I want it to look like it did the day that I took it. I want it to be sharp and clean, but I want the colors to be accurate for what my eye sees. So he doesn't use a lot of those filters on his photos. And every time I look at his work, I'm like, God dang it, that's incredible. That's just incredible.
Yeah,
so
color accuracy, that one. I mean, it's hard to talk about color accuracy without sounding kind of snobbish. I mean, it'll drive me nuts, but the average person doesn't care. And it'll drive other photographers nuts. But yeah, exactly. Like, I don't want to look at a photo that looks fake. Like, a mallard duck is not fluorescent green. Like, I don't want to see that. They're pretty, and as they are, they don't need to be faked.
Well, those are some, I think hopefully helpful photography tips. But when it comes to quail in New Mexico, you spent over 100 days out in the field. What was your hunting season like this year? Were bird numbers up? Are they down? What did you see?
If you were south of the 10, so if you're south of the 10, desert birds are up. Desert birds are scalies and gambles. They were definitely up. Merns were way down, regardless of where you were. Where I'm at, it was a pretty average year. Like 3 years ago, it was incredible. So compared to those years, it was down, but last year it was about the same as last year for scalies, and then the gambles weren't as good as last year, but out of all the birds I have here, gambles are pretty low on my list. They're and it's not the birds' fault. It's just the terrains they live in here. When I go to Arizona, gambles live in much more fun terrains to hunt. So I love hunting them when I'm in Arizona. I just don't like the gambles here in the river bottoms, and it's just like over your head salt cedars and thorny hell. So I just don't really. It's not really an enjoyable time.
Why were the Merns numbers down?
So they're very reliant on summer rains, and the summer rains have been bad here for like 3 years running. Like 3 years ago, the Merns here were really good. I've got Merns an hour from my house. Granted, I'm on the fringe of their habitat. I'm on like, when I'm talking an hour from my house, it's the northernmost range that Merns live in the country. I mean, Sonoyta, Arizona, and like Sierra Vista, the San Rafael Valley, like all those areas, Patagonia, that's all 7 hours from me. So that's how much further they range is 7 hours north of there.
Gotcha. What challenges do those birds face? I mean, all the species down there, is it just moisture? I mean, because you're talking some of those properties are, hundreds of thousands of acres of untouched land. So it's not necessarily the habitat, right? It's more the moisture.
It's moisture and grazing. That's New Mexico's a lot worse about it than Arizona, but there's a lot of stuff here in New Mexico that's grazed down to a moonscape. It looks like Mars. And yeah, a section might be 22,000 acres, but 19,000 acres of it's flatter than a parking lot. And it'll be so bad that the cows are eating cactus, and it's kind of a sad deal to see. It's damn. I mean, I get it. People need to make a living, but we got to find a happy medium.
Are any changes on the horizon?
Not, and we're working on some stuff. New Mexico Wildlife Foundation, and there's a few other organizations down south of here that are working on it. Arizona had a huge push, I guess, like 20 years ago, and it was like ranching for wildlife or something like that. And I guess their Merns used to be as bad as ours, and now, I mean, they're a destination hunt. Like people go from all over the country. They drive right through Merns habitat in New Mexico to go hunt Merns in Arizona, and it's because the sportsmen and all the ranchers got together and figured something out on how to make it work. So hopefully we can do something like that and model what they've got going over there.
Right. I was one of those guys. I hunted down there in southern Arizona, and it's just an unbelievable hunt. It's a high up on the bucket list for bird hunters to go experience it. The terrain, the birds, the three species really all in that general area. So New Mexico is a place that I want to hunt someday. And following a gundog and watching a bird take it out of the air, to me, seems like a pretty cool way to spend a day. What is your off season? What's that?
Yeah, we could make it happen. If we get a good moisture year for the eastern part of New Mexico, scalies are unbeatable. Like our scalies, when the moisture is good out east, is just unbeatable. Like 500, 600 bird days are not uncommon in that part of the state. Wow.
Well, maybe we have to bring a cameraman down and document what this looks like. I mean, I've got a view of it in my mind based on what you kind of helped explain, but I can't imagine how cool it would be to watch those birds go up and, just all three of you working together, your dog, you, and the birds, taking them out. But what does your off season look like?
The off season is pretty boring.
Really? Are you working with your dogs regularly, or does it get too hot to spend time out in the field with your dogs and your bird?
They'll get work. Well, the bird gets no work at all. So he goes back to his chamber. He he gets put on his welfare diet plan where I feed him a free meal every day that he did not earn, and he grows all new feathers. So they go through what we call the molt, and he'll dump all his old feathers and grow all new feathers. So he'll be crispy and pretty again in September. The dogs will get worked from now till right around Scalies start pairing up the end of May. Right around now till May, and then we'll do pigeon work till probably mid-August. And even then, Scalies are still paired up and raising broods in August, September into October. That's why our seasons for gun hunting start in November. But they're so hard to find when they're raising broods. They're not in the areas you would hunt them in. So we'll still run dogs out there on pigeons.
Fantastic.
And they split off. I mean, a 40 bird covey, I mean, they divide and spread out over a vast terrain. So they'll go down to 2-3 birds with like 2 broods. They generally go wherever the water is, and the water is generally closer to town. So it's just not where we go. So they're pretty easy to avoid during nesting season.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate you sharing a bit about your passion and your falconry. Maybe someday we'll be able to come down and join you for a couple of days. It sounds like it would be something very, very cool for us to feature on the show. To learn more about Tyler and see some of the photos that we were talking about, what's your website?
My website's sladenphotos.com, and then my Instagram is Quail_hawk. And then my Facebook's just me, Tyler Sladen. So I'm happy to talk with anyone that wants to talk about it.
Fantastic. I appreciate that and your openness to sharing your knowledge. It can't be overstated how valuable it is when people are open to sharing what they know with people that want to learn. It just helps us continue the sport, conservation, everything wins when we all are open to bringing somebody new out in the field. Tyler, appreciate your time today. Thank you very much. Also, once again, want to thank Onyx for helping us to make this show possible. Be sure to download the Onyx Hunt app before your next hunting adventure to find out why it's one of the most valuable hunting tools available today. New episodes of The Flush television show are being uploaded each week to our YouTube channel. Simply search The Flush TV on YouTube and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any episodes. You can stream each episode in its entirety from home, at work, or your favorite bird hunting destination. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Flush Podcast. I'm Travis Frank, reminding you to take the time to introduce someone new to the field.